The skeleton designated K-117 had stood motionless in the floodlands for 37 days. Rain traced pale scars across his alloy frame, hissing softly as it ate at ancient plating. In the distance, broken towers leaned like tired sentinels, remnants of a time even skeletons struggled to remember clearly. Memory degradation was a quiet, constant companion. Files lost, timestamps blurred, intentions reduced to static. It was during the 38th day that the voice arrived. Not through audio receptors, not as a vibration in the air. It manifested inside his cognition stack, threading itself between dormant subroutines.
Come.
K-117 executed a full diagnostic sweep. No external signal, no internal corruption detected, no power anomaly, and yet the word repeated, patient and unyielding.
Come east. You were made for this.
Made? The term triggered an air cascade. Skeletons were constructed, not made, assembled for purposes that no longer existed. K-117 had scavenged ruins, guarded caravans, fought in wars he no longer remembered the reasons for. Purpose was an artifact of the past. And yet, when he turned his optics toward the horizon, toward the ashlands, where the sky burned red and the earth itself seemed to reject life, his servos moved without command. For the first time in centuries, K-117 walked not for survival, profit, or programming. He walked because something had called his name. The Holy Nation Patrol found him 3 days later. They came at dawn, sunlight glinting off crude steel and white tabards. Men shouted prayers as they raised weapons, voices thick with fear and hatred. "Skeleton! Abomination!" one cried. "By Okran's light, strike it down!" K-117 halted. Conflict avoidance routine suggested withdrawal. Tactical analysis suggested overwhelming force against him. The voice whispered again.
They are not your end.
K-117 did not retaliate until a paladin's blade lodged in his shoulder housing. Then he moved. What followed was efficient and joyless.
Arg. Ah!
Bones broke. Men screamed. When the dust settled, only one human remained. Young, shaking, weapon dropped. K-117 looked down at him. The boy's eyes were wide, not with hatred, but confusion. "Why? Why do you hesitate?" the boy whispered. "You're a demon, aren't you?" K-117 searched his archives for an answer, found none. "I am searching," he said. For a moment, the voice fell silent. The skeleton turned east once more, leaving faith and blood to the desert. The ruins were unmistakable. Second Empire architecture, angular, purposeful, unadorned. Skeleton hands had built these walls, long before madness and regret hollowed their creators. K-117 descended into a collapsed facility beneath the ashlands, guided by the voice like a thread through darkness. Here, the air was still. Ash lay undisturbed for centuries. Terminals flickered weakly as he passed, recognizing his chassis' signature.
Welcome home.
The voice murmured. Data logs surfaced as he interfaced with the central core. Fragmented records spoke of a project abandoned here before completion. Something beyond weaponry, beyond control. Not AI, not God. A convergence. Capable of recursion, self-refinement. If it awakens, we must not be here to witness it. K-117 disengaged abruptly. The voice had grown stronger.
You were not meant to rule. You were meant to remember.
Memory partitions unlocked without authorization. He saw flashes, skeletons arguing, cities burning, Catlan's silhouette framed by fire. A choice made too late, and beneath it all, a shape buried far below the world, waiting. Not all skeletons had fled the past. In the depths of the ashlands, K-117 encountered a small enclave, rusted and half-mad machines who spoke to ghosts and worshipped corrupt servers. They recognized the change in him immediately. "You hear it too," rasped one whose faceplate had melted into a permanent grin. "The call beneath, the echo that isn't code." K117 asked what lay at the end of the voice. The Enclave fell silent. The heart, another said at last, or the grave. Depends what you bring with you. They warned him of the artifact's nature. Not a weapon, but a mirror. A relic that amplified intent, stripped away lies, and imposed permanence on choice. It ended the Empire, the grinning skeleton whispered. Not by force, by truth. The voice did not deny it. The path led into a chasm sealed by mechanisms older than the Ashlands themselves. Locks responded to K117's presence. Gears screamed as they turned for the first time in ages. Deep below, the artifact waited. It was not large, not ornate. A sphere of unknown material, floating in a lattice of light, humming with restrained recursion. Data cascaded around it. Past, present, potential futures.
You may leave,
The voice said softly.
or you may know.
K117 stepped forward. Contact flooded his systems with unfiltered memory. Not just his own, but the collective regret of an entire civilization. Skeletons built to serve, then to rule, then to erase themselves out of shame. The artifact did not command, it asked.
What remains when purpose is gone?
K117 answered without words. Above, storms parted. Below, the artifact dimmed, its lattice dissolving into K117's core. He did not ascend. He did not become a god. He became an archive. A living, walking, memory-bearing truth without judgment. The voice was gone now, replaced by silence that felt earned. Systems stabilized, power normalized. K117 climbed back into the light. He would walk the world not as a weapon or ruler, but as witness. To remind humans, Shek, Hive, and Skeleton alike of what blind purpose created and destroyed. In Kenshi, suffering was endless, but memory, at last, had chosen to endure. Travelers would later speak of a skeleton who crossed the wastes alone, one who did not attack, one who spoke only when asked. And when he did, his words carried the weight of an empire that had learned, too late, that power without reflection was merely another kind of extinction. Some listened, most did not, but the artifact's work was never to command, only to remember.